During these difficult times amid the coronavirus pandemic, we've seen some remarkable, absolutely brilliant gestures of humanity around the world. But that humanity dies, that humanity hits a brick wall when it comes to Israel's aggression in occupied Palestine. For a start, Israeli soldiers and settlers have been seen spitting on Palestinian property in efforts to spread the virus. Check this out. Absolutely disgusting. Then, on the other hand, Israel stands accused of taking advantage of the coronavirus while the world is occupied elsewhere. Excuse the pun. As the world is focused on its own internal issues, the Israeli regime, as we speak, is busy expanding its settlement activity in the occupied West Bank, activity that is illegal under international law. Welcome to Palestine Files. On this episode, we're going to focus on the coronavirus in occupied Palestine.
In the besieged Gaza Strip, the number of confirmed coronavirus cases is increasing. Deaths from COVID-19 is also on the rise. The Israeli blockade means there is a lack of testing kits, so the exact figure is unknown, which makes it more frightening.
أكد على توقف المختبر المركزي تماما في قطاع غزة عن إجراء الفحوصات المخبرية بعد نفاذ كافة المواد المخبرية التي وصلت إلى قطاع غزة خلال وباء كورونا.
Concern among international aid groups is mounting.
Gaza is a very challenging environment. It's a very crowded environment. The social determinants for health are not really good here. So there is a number of people who are at risk through the poor living conditions. And there is shortages everywhere in medications, in electricity, in supplies.
The fear is that Gaza's health sector, already on the verge of collapse as a result of the Israeli blockade, cannot handle the epidemic.
وهذا يشكل تحدياً جديداً لوزارة الصحة في مواجهة هذا الوباء ويؤثر بشكل مباشر على إنهاء الحجر الصحي للمستضعفين في مراكز الحجر المختلفة.
The most difficult thing when you're a Palestine refugee and when you live in a densely populated camp and when you're already economically vulnerable is to receive all these global directives, most of which do not apply to you.
With only 3,000 remaining hospital beds available to the 2 million people living under military occupation, Gaza's doctors fear a coronavirus storm. Meanwhile, cases are surging in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Authority has warned it will be short of equipment to handle the coronavirus pandemic if the spread of the illness is not curbed. According to the Palestinian Authority, Palestinian medical centers only have 295 respirators. These include 175 in the occupied West Bank and 120 in the besieged Gaza Strip. This is while the Israel occupation has boasted about obtaining 500,000 testing kits from nations it refuses to name publicly. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh has warned that the PA does not know what would transpire in the coming months.
This issue has been met with strong reactions on social media. Here is what some of you guys have posted, starting with Sarah Wilkinson, who says, as the world focuses on its own COVID-19 crisis and races to stop more cases emerging, is there anyone out there paying attention to Gaza? Very strong post there from Sarah. Moving on to Nadel Abu Al-Khair, who says, if somehow, as the Zionists wish, Palestinians disappear from the face of the earth, the governments of the world would turn face and say, was anyone there? In response to Sarah there. And moving on to Azam Hussein, who says, it looks like the media won't debate Palestinian issues. It seems they've all sold out. Azam there making a valid point. Moving on to Ola Yemen, who says, do you see the blockade that you are living now because of Corona? We have been living like this siege in Gaza for 14 years, but our siege is worse than yours. Ours without medication, without electricity, without food, without jobs, with many bombs falling on us. Ola there appearing from the besieged Gaza Strip. And Stefan says, they told us to wash your hands with soap and eat good things to be safe from Corona. But we don't even have water to drink, let alone washing our hands with water and soap. The price of everything skyrocketed due to Corona and this quarantine. Awful. Moving on to Jake Barron, who says, please speak out against apartheid, murder, theft suffered by Palestinians at the hands of Israel. All in Gaza are political prisoners. Many have perished. Medical supplies to protect against Corona denied. Very strong points there. That was some social media. But I can hear you asking, what about the Palestinians themselves? What do they make of all this? Well, we're going to hear from them right now. And where else are we going? We're going to the besieged Gaza Strip.
احنا من قبل جائحة كورونا احنا وضعنا وضع خاص، وضعنا وضع مضيق عليه، وكان وضع إنساني من قبل جائحة كورونا. محاصرين من 14 سنة، ما عندنا معابة كيف تحكم فيها الاحتلال. تحت جائحة كورونا احنا اصلا قطاعنا الصحي مدمر، ما عندنا اساسياته، فكمان عندنا تضييق. احنا دولة بشكل عام، يعني مش بس قطاع غزة، كمان احنا كنا دولة واحدة. كمان الضفة الغربية بتعاني تحت سلطة الاحتلال. احنا بنحمل سلطة الاحتلال المسؤولية الكاملة عن كل تدهور الصحي الذي يحدث.
الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يمارس العنصرية والعنجهية في التعامل مع قطاع غزة ومواطني قطاع غزة، إضافة إلى أنه يتعامل مع الفلسطيني بعنصرية من الأساس. الآن التجديد الموجود على قطاع غزة بمنع إدخال الأدوية، المستلزمات الطبية، المتطلبات اللازمة لموضوع الإجراءات الفحص.
ظل ملاحظتي للتطورات الأخيرة منذ ابتداء أزمة جائحة مرض كورونا، ازدادت إجراءات الاحتلال المحاصرة لقطاع غزة خصوصاً، وكذلك في الضفة الغربية. الإجراءات العنصرية والاستهداف العنصري من قبل المستوطنين زادت الهجمات، وأيضاً في ظل أنه وقفت في كل بلدان العالم الحروب والاشتباكات المسلحة، إلا أن المستوطنين ما زالت هجماتهم مستمرة.
هي فيروس كورونا مرض يجتاح العالم بأكمله، ولكن فلسطين على الأخص اجتاح فيروس كورونا مع الاحتلال الإسرائيلي. الاحتلال الإسرائيلي هو أخطر خطر من فيروس كورونا. فيروس كورونا مرض هو يغتال الجسم بشكل أو بآخر، أما الاحتلال الإسرائيلي فهو عديم الإنسانية، يغتال جميع الأعمار ومستمر على مدار السنوات، والشعب الفلسطيني بيعاني من الاحتلال وما يمارسه بحق الشعب الفلسطيني.
تمام، في ظل أجواء كورونا إنه الاحتلال استغل الفرصة هذه في التضييق على المواطنين.
حقيقة الاحتلال الصهيوني في هذه الأزمة، أزمة كورونا، أظهر وجهه البشع.
للأسف مع وجود حد زايد حالة وباء الكورونا في العالم بشكل عام، ووصوله إلينا في قطاع غزة وفلسطين بشكل أخص، وجدنا منغصات الاحتلال وعدم استغلاله الشديد لهذه الأزمة ليقوم مع هذا الوباء العالمي بممارسة كافة أنواع العنصرية.
Let's just put this all into context. Gaza was already in a dangerous spot without the coronavirus. It has been besieged by Israel since 2006. And now, with the spread of COVID-19, it is impossible to get in that much needed medicine and medical supplies. It is densely populated with refugee camps that are breeding grounds for the deadly virus. Even before the virus, hospitals were struggling. Gazans are already complaining about how they can even wash their hands, especially when Israel destroyed their water facilities, rendering 97% of the enclave's water polluted. Now, this story has made headlines around the world, and let's just see what some of those reports have said. Abbas Hamida is a Palestinian activist and the co-founder of Al-Auda, a group that advocates for the return of Palestinian refugees. Mr. Hamida, welcome to Palestine Files. Why has Israel intensified, its occupation in the occupied West Bank instead of the opposite?
That's actually a very good question, and it's been asked all over social media. The Israeli occupation always finds an opportunity to basically continue, its brutality against the Palestinians. And what better time right now with the coronavirus, where the whole world is paying attention to this pandemic. So I think it's an opportunity for them. They never cease to grab an opportunity to continue their brutal occupation against the Palestinians. So this is a great time for them.
Okay, now we're seeing footage of Israeli troops and Israeli settlers literally spitting on Palestinian property. What message does this portray?
That is a disgusting attribute that the Israeli occupation has always had, and it continues these actions. I remember when I was in Palestine, the last time I was actually inside in 2008, before I was banned in 2014, you would see Israeli occupation soldiers urinating in front of the public. And in particular, sometimes they do it in front of the women. So they do this to provoke the Palestinian people. So this is a character, a nasty character that they continue on forward. Unfortunately, even with the coronavirus, which they feel if they're infected, they want to infect the Palestinians as well. Very disgusting.
It's disgusting indeed. Now, we're also hearing in the occupied West Bank, Israel is taking advantage of the coronavirus and is seizing control of areas such as the Holy Ibrahimi Mosque, for example. What's your views here?
Well, unfortunately, this is what the Israeli occupation continues to do. This is a great opportunity for them with the global coronavirus pandemic, for them to continue their land theft and continue to invade the Ibrahimi Mosque. And ultimately what they want to do is a full control or a full takeover of the Ibrahimi Mosque if the Palestinians allow it. And this is something that the Palestinians have been struggling with for a very long time now, since they invaded Al-Ibrahimi Mosque during the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre with Baruch Goldstein, who was a Brooklyn doctor from the United States. After committing that massacre, with the help of the Israeli occupation soldiers, they basically rewarded with themselves by taking half of the mosque, of the Ibrahimi Mosque. And this is something, it's not something new. they just continue to take advantage, especially when the world is not paying attention. As right now, everybody's focused on this pandemic, unfortunately.
Abbas Hamida, co-founder of Al-Auda, thank you for your thoughts. Thank you very much indeed. Now, we're going to take a short break and be right back with the rest of the show. Stay tuned.
The Palestinian Prisoners Club says Palestinian political prisoners have staged protests over the lack of health measures to protect them from the pandemic. According to Adamiyah Rights Group, at least 4 Palestinian prisoners are suspected of contracting the coronavirus. Israel has rejected international calls to release the prisoners during the coronavirus crisis. Meanwhile, the occupation continues. Israeli forces and Israeli settlers in the West Bank continue constant closures, incursions and attacks against Palestinian civilians. Analysts say this is complicating efforts to combat the disease. Palestinians say Israel is taking advantage of the situation to impose its control on what many see as a strategy that Tel Aviv will not let go of, even after the pandemic is over.
Bassem Naim is the former Minister of Health in the besieged Gaza Strip. Currently, he is the head of the Palestinian Council on International Relations. Mr. Naim, thank you for being with us. It's an honor. I know you're very busy at this moment. If I can firstly ask you about the expansion of Israeli settlements during the coronavirus crisis.
As usual, Israel is behaving as a state above the law, and at no time Israel was taken accountable for its steps or crimes against our people. Israel now is trying to exploit the current situation, and that the whole world and all countries are busy with facing coronavirus at the domestic level to change the reality on the ground. Therefore, this intensification of their procedures is part of their plans to keep Palestinian hostages, to change the reality on the ground. We have heard in the last few days new steps by building new settlements, by annexing new areas, by demolishing houses. They are keeping their continuous implementing their plans as before, and supported as usual by the current American administration.
Is it not Israel's responsibility here, morally and under international law, to deliver that much-needed aid, medical aid, to Palestinians in the besieged Gaza Strip? Why isn't this happening?
Yes, it is true. Israel is the occupying power, and Israel, according to the international law, is responsible for the life of 2 million civilians living here in the one of the mostly crowded and populated area on earth. But as we have said always, Israel is first behaving as a state above the law, and Israel is always not afraid to be taken or to be accountable for its crimes against our people. This is on one side. On the other side, Israel is trying to use this situation to exercise more and more pressure on the Palestinians, especially here in Gaza, to give up and to raise the white flag and to accept the Israeli plans for the Palestinians.
Mr. Naim, how bad can this coronavirus hit the occupied, and besieged Palestinian territories if Israel fails to act?
Look, we have said that thanks that the siege have maybe one positive aspect, that the limited number of people moving from and into Gaza until today kept Gaza nearly free or with the limited cases of coronavirus. But if the worst case scenario happens and we have the spread of the infection here or the epidemic in Gaza, we are talking about a real catastrophe. You can, for example, in one refugee camp like the beach camp, you have around 100,000 people living in 1 square kilometer. How can you isolate such a group of people? How can you quarantine them? It is impossible. Therefore, if it happens, it means a real humanitarian disaster, a catastrophe.
Okay, Mr. Naim, former health minister in Gaza, thank you very much indeed for joining Palestine Files. Now, Rami Al-Abadala has been appointed by the authorities in Gaza to counter the coronavirus spread. Our team sat down with him to get his take, so it's important we hear what he has to say.
يعني غزة تعاني باستمرار منذ زمن بعيد من نقص في كافة المستهلكات الطبية، في الأدوية، في المعدات الطبية. يعني وضعها استثنائي في الوضع العادي، يعني دائما يعني يوجد نقص يعني لا يقل عن 50% في أصناف الأدوية. يوجد القليل جدا من المستهلكات والمستلزمات الطبية، يعني الأجهزة الطبية كذلك يوجد نقص كبير فيها منذ زمن قبل موضوع كورونا. الآن نحن نستعد لكورونا، ولكن لغاية الآن يعني لم يصلنا يعني شيء حقيقي للمساعدة في هذا الأمر لتجهيز يعني إمكانياتنا في حال لا قدر الله انتشر الوباء في غزة. يعني كل ما قمنا به قمنا ببعض الإمكانيات المتوفرة في المستشفيات الميدانية العامة نقلها إلى المستشفى الميداني إلى رفح، بحيث يتم استقبال المرضى المصابين بفيروس كورونا هناك بعيدا عن المجتمع وبعيدا عن المستشفيات الحكومية العاملة. ولكن لم تكن هذه يعني سواء الأسرة أو الأجهزة أو كل التبعات لها كانت يعني هي فائض عن حاجة وزارة الصحة. في ظل ظروف غزة تعاني بدون كورونا، فكورونا يعني أعتقد هذا سيكون أمر غير طبيعي. نحاول قدر الإمكان عدم دخوله، لأنه فيما لو دخل غزة سيكون الأمر صعب جدا. الإغلاق على غزة أو الحصار على غزة يعني هو يعني يمكن أحد العوامل يعني أو عامل يعني له شقين، شق إيجابي وشق سلبي. الشق الإيجابي إنه والله في الوقت الحالي إنه عدد الأهالي غزة الذي يغادر قطاع غزة والقادمين إليها محدود بسبب المعابر وإغلاقها باستمرار، وهذا قد يحد من وصول هذا الفيروس إلى غزة. وبناء عليه قمنا بعمل هو الحجر الإلزامي للجميع، لأنه عدد العائدين محدود وسهل يعني حجرهم للتأكد من سلامتهم قبل عودتهم إلى المنازل. الشق الآخر وهو السلبي هو معاناة غزة من نقص الأدوية والمستهلكات الطبية، وكل ما يعني يحتاجه قطاع غزة سواء من الناحية الاقتصادية أو من الناحية الصحية، وهذا يشكل طبعا عبء كبير على وزارة الصحة، عبء كبير على المجتمع.
The World Health Organization has called on every country, every entity to cease hostilities during the coronavirus pandemic, to show some humanity amid the outbreak. But when it comes to Israel's apartheid rule on the Palestinians, that doesn't appear to be the case. When it comes to the coronavirus and the Palestinians living under that brutal, that racist, discriminatory, that violent, oppressive and savage occupation, humanity goes out of the window. Not that it ever existed in the first place, as many have pointed out. Thank you for watching Palestine Files. See you next week.